Welcome to Freedom Decoded. We're Demir and Carey Bentley.
We're productivity coaches, lifestyle optimizers, and adventurers who love to experiment with new ways of living and working.
Professionally, we help other people get back in control of their life and get on their path to their ideal life.
You can learn more about what we do at lifehackmethod.com.
And this is the podcast where we let our hair down and give you the peek behind the curtain into our freedom lifestyle. Hey, before we get started today, I gotta mention the productivity system that Carey and I have developed that's changing thousands of lives. Do you feel overwhelmed and unproductive? Do you wish that you had an uncomplicated system to just help you get more done in less time and a support system to hold you accountable to reaching those goals? Well, if so, you're gonna love Lifehack Tribe. It's the productivity membership program that shows you how to work free from overwhelm. With Lifehack Tribe, you're going to get access to hundreds of trainings, tools, resources, and community support to help you achieve that goal, to get your life back, to get in control. So sign up for your week-long trial at lifehackmethod.com/tribe and get started on a more productive life. Carey, today we're talking about our game-changing Asana breakthrough. What is this all about?
Well, I'm so excited because, as you all know, Asana is one of my favorite pieces of technology that we use here at the Lifehack Method. And it's been actually several years since I've sort of been like, nope, my system is working in Asana. I don't have any major upgrades or improvements that I'm making to my Asana framework. And I went to go and make some sort of small minor tweaks to my Asana course and ended up redoing the entire course.
Yeah.
So there's been some really, really exciting upgrades that I've made in the process, just to how we even organize our team on Asana, how we organize projects on Asana. And then down the line, just how do we even run our days and weeks better out of Asana? So there's been a lot of big breakthroughs that have come through just in the last couple of weeks.
And I would say even more, I feel like you've really clarified Asana in a way where you've taken something I really thought I knew. I thought I understood it at a very intimate level. And I feel like I didn't know it at all. And it's working so much better for me. And I'm so much more excited about it. So that's what I really want to share in this podcast more than anything, more than just the details of what we did, which we will get into. It's almost just like, what is this religious conversion that has come over Demir around Asana due to these innovations that you've made in our approach?
Yeah. And this is why I love just working with you as an example client, as it were, for my Asana program, is because you're basically the toughest critic that there could be, because you have your brain just works in a different way. It doesn't work in the same way as my brain, or in fact, in a way that is probably neurotypical. So to have you say that about the new framework, because it still works for me. It's not like something is now broken for me. It works better for me too. But just to hear your reaction and then to see you using it the way that I've designed it has been so gratifying. And the team, I'm sure, has also felt that you're more engaged and present with their work because you're using the same Asana system that everybody else is.
So step back real quick. Am I drinking my own bathwater, or have you also seen a change in how engaged I've been with Asana and how much I've been using it and living out of it day to day?
Oh, totally. Which is part of why we wanted to record this podcast, is because there are some, I think, small things that you've done differently now in Asana that have, for some magical reason, made it work better for you. And so I'm really, really excited to see how it works for just you on an ongoing basis, but also all of our clients who might think more like you and less like me.
Okay, quick step back. As productivity coaches, we are not the coaches that you come to talk about every new tool that comes onto the market.
Amen.
We're not here to be like, this is important, that's important, check out this new thing. That can get clicks, that can get you, if you're a YouTuber, that can get you views on your YouTube, but it does not create clarity. What we're here to do with our clients is to create radical clarity. I want my clients to be able to look at the world of new productivity tools and techniques and be able to immediately slash out 99% of them because they understand this is not going to help me. And so we've always been focused on the massive action triangle.
Yep.
3 tools that govern 99% of massive action. It is your life map, or your list of your priorities. It is your Asana, which is your task list, and it's your calendar. So when we're talking about Asana, we're not just talking about a tool that, one, could use. We're talking about one of the three legs to a fundamental stool without which it will fall over. I don't care if you use Microsoft Planner or you use ClickUp. Fundamentally, we're talking about an action platform. So for the rest of this conversation, when we talk about Asana, we're really talking about one of the three fundamental tools that we teach every client to take massive action. That's why this is so important. And I wanted to make sure to foreground that so that people didn't think that this was just some random update on some random tool. No, this is the tool.
Yes. And an action platform is where we take what is really just magical thinking, which is all the to-dos that you want to have happen. And then that's where we can actually marry it up with your calendar and decide what is actually going to happen. How much time should I allocate to every single thing? And so I like to say it's where magical thinking just becomes reality. And oftentimes if I have people telling me, oh, they're overwhelmed by Asana, or they have to-do lists in multiple different places, or despite making a to-do list, they never do what's on it. Oftentimes the problem is they're still stuck in that magical thinking spot where there's just something wrong and there's some friction that's happening that's preventing them from translating that into reality.
So I don't want to bury the lead here. What happened to me? Because Asana is a nearly perfect tool at what it does. And what it does is it simply is a container for all of the actions you have to take to meet your responsibilities. That's simple.
That's it.
You want to be a father? There's going to be actions that you need to take to be a father. You want to be a business person or whatever role you have. And often people have multiple things, multiple responsibilities that give birth to things you need to do. And Asana is perfect at holding on to those and sending them back to you and knocking on your door and saying, you need to do this now to fulfill this responsibility. Well, I just went on a guy's trip, and we'll get into that in another podcast, but I had a really big, fat, honking realization around wanting to step into responsibility, really feeling eager. And when I came back from that trip, I finally realized what the disconnect between me and Asana has been. I will always try to use it. It's always part of my week. But I felt like it was a relationship that had a lot of resentment and avoidance built into it. Like I knew I needed it and I was using it, but I was sort of dragging myself through broken glass with a lot of avoidance, a lot of resistance, which means that I probably took more days between checking Asana than I should have. It means that I was feeling a whole bunch of stress and fear around opening Asana and getting into that. And here's what happened. When I came back from that trip, I finally looked at my Asana and I realized that instead of feeling avoidance around Asana, I was actually, for the first time in my life, thanking Asana. I thanked it because I looked at Asana and I said, hey, buddy, thank you so much for being that person or that entity in my life that is always there, able to show me what I need to do next, to be the father, to be the business person, to be the husband that I really want to be.
Right.
And I apologize to you for not fully stepping into ownership around those responsibilities. Asana doesn't randomly generate new tasks for you to do. These tasks were put into Asana by me. The responsibilities that are being reflected in Asana are responsibilities that I chose. So one of the elements that I talk about with avoidance around Asana is you're not avoidant to Asana. What you're experiencing is avoidance to that responsibility that is now being reflected back to you. And I don't know what it is. I'm going to work on it to try to see if I can communicate this to our clients. But something clicked for me when I came back where I finally realized I was like, this is such a blessing in your life. This is such a tremendous blessing in your life. And right in that moment, I came back and read your script for the new Asana course revision, and you had just dropped some new frameworks and some new approaches and some new tools in Asana that, together with that new willingness that I had to really jump into Asana, all of a sudden it was so much clearer and easier to use. And it was just like the angels were singing.
Yeah. 100%. Oh, I'm so glad that you felt that way. In my view, you're sort of the classic visionary archetype where you have really great big picture ideas, and that's your strength and that's your strong suit. But often those people are very bad executors, and they have a lot of trouble translating that big dream and that big vision into reality. And so they end up needing other people on their team who fulfill that executor role. The problem is you still have to be the leader for that person. You still have to create the structure and the framework for them to all be productive in the way that they need to be. And you have to be integrated into it. And so I think that's been like sort of the missing link for a while, where I've been trying to figure out like how your brain works and create better systems.
How do I reach this guy? How do I
For
get
real, though.
through?
I mean, and it's been hard because I'm much more of an integrator where I see systems and processes very clearly. And so then when someone doesn't get the magic, like you're saying, oh, it's like this amazing thing that lists your responsibilities. I'm like, yeah, I know. I've known that for 10 years. But it's so gratifying to now see that the processes we put in place help you see that as well.
And this is a big problem that we have with clients when we work with teams and high level of executives, is that a lot of times these people do clearly see themselves as the visionary, but what they do is then they give themselves a pass for being totally disorganized.
Yeah.
And not having any ability to have that radical clarity on what they should be doing or to impart that radical clarity to other people. And there's just, that puts a cap on what you can achieve. And that part I've known. That's why I've always been steadily forcing myself, force feeding myself Asana, because I knew I do need this. I can't be a manager if I don't have this. This is how we delegate. This is how we communicate with our team. So I've been forced into Asana, but there was this feeling of avoidance. But what I really want to mention there is it's got to start with a willingness on that person's part,
right,
to say, yes, this might be something that I'll never be the world's best at, but I don't need to be the best. Just a little drop of this medicine will make a big difference for my team. And frankly, a big difference for me too, because ultimately magical thinking comes from thinking that you can do more than you actually have time for. And if you're not inside of Asana, actively looking at your tasks and understanding what's coming at me, then that means that you're always on some level going to over or underestimate what the team can do, what you can do. In essence, you become the big problem in the team. And I won't mention the name, but we worked with this big influencer person and their team.
Yeah.
And they wanted us to train their entire team, but they didn't want to go through our training themselves. And so their vision was, I want to stay disorganized. I want to stay flighty. I want to stay in vision and idea mode. And I want my team to execute around me. But if you are the big boss, that's not going to work because your birth defects will inhibit anybody else's ability to get things done.
Right. And so this person basically hired us to make sure that his team was working really effectively in Asana. And all we heard from from his team was that the problem was this guy. And that he was the one person refusing to use the systems that they had set up.
And I have been that guy. I have been that problem in different various periods in our team. I try not to be, but I have been.
Right.
So we've heard about the big breakthrough, the desire to step into radical responsibility. And we're going to talk in a different podcast around what happened there and what was that trip and what was that realization. Don't worry, we'll get to that. But just take it for granted, I came back with a new willingness to take another fresh look and really embrace Asana. But then you had come in with these really massive changes. Talk to me about the journey to, like, how did a light refresh of our Asana course become really a pretty fundamental redesign in our philosophy?
Well, I think it starts with collecting feedback from clients, right? Because it's very hard to look at a method that you created and then be like, I immediately know how to improve this. Like that rarely happens. Like what we want to do is we want to understand how do we get our clients better results. And so I purposefully went to clients who I knew were not integrating the Asana methodology that I had put out there. And I asked them for critical feedback. And I was like, is there something we could be doing better? Like if you're not using Asana, what is the system that's working for you? Like, what are you doing? Can you show me that? And I had several people write me back. Like there was a couple more critical feedback, but also just more like bashful feedback where I'm like, I know I should be doing Asana your way, but I just can't get myself to do it.
Yeah.
And so then I was able to take that feedback and look more like, I see what I think the missing link is now. Like it's a jump that my brain makes naturally that other people maybe aren't seeing. And at the same time, I recognize that as our team has grown, it's become more necessary to add additional sort of like layers of organization within Asana in order to promote transparency and clarity inside the team.
So our growth is basically stress testing your methodology and cluing you into ways that you could even make it better.
Exactly. Because now instead of you and I being in charge of key KPIs throughout the year, we have various other lead team members who are in charge of key KPIs. And so Asana really helps us simplify the organization, simplify the clarity, and make sure everything is super transparent across the organization. And so that was the first element that I went after. I was like, I think I could make this even better.
Yeah.
Because it had been clear for you and me, but when I thought about, well, if I had a 30-person team, would this still be clear? It was like, no, I could make this more clear. I could do some very easy, small things to make this more clear. And so one of the big things we did was take our big goals document for the year and our KPIs related to that goal and make each one of those a project section in Asana. And literally assigning that person's name inside the name of the project. Because what I hate, something I just cannot stand about what people do very naturally with Asana, is they treat projects like big buckets of tasks.
Yes.
They're just folders. And then it makes them feel organized, I'm using air quotes, because they have sorted all of their tasks into folders. But this actually does nothing to indicate to you what is the purpose of this project, what is the big goal it's driving forward, what is the deadline,
Who's in charge?
Who's in charge of the project. And so by connecting our projects literally to the year-end KPIs, we're literally, even as your eye scans down the list of projects, you understand the importance of each project.
I'm going to say this in my own way as it hit me. It almost seems like it's a top-down approach to building out your Asana rather than a bottom-up. What do I mean by that? I think a lot of people, what they naturally do is they, first of all, brain vomit into Asana. And they just get into Asana and they just vomit out every single task that their brain can possibly come up with. Then what do you have? A giant table full of puzzle pieces, right?
Right, that then you have to go somehow execute, and nobody wants to do that.
Well, and it's like trying to organize folders. I've got all these documents. How do I put them in folders? So you start making up sort of arbitrary buckets where you're like, oh, I guess all of these fit together. And I guess all of these fit together. What they're essentially doing is they're starting from the bottom,
right,
a big pile of tasks, and then trying to work up into clarity. And you'll never get there.
Nope.
You will never get there. You're always going to get lost somewhere in that journey because you're starting from chaos and trying to corral the chaos. What you've done in your new Asana course is before they even open Asana and drop in their first task, you actually have them go through a worksheet where they, in a worksheet, identify what are the big goals for this year, who's in charge of every goal. And naturally, once they've identified all of that flows into Asana and gets mirrored into Asana. So now you have an amazing document that's a living document that you can always go back to and refer to both for yourself and for your team and for performance reviews to say, this is what I expect of you. Here's the KPI. Here's what initiatives you're responsible for. And then when you go into Asana, it's perfectly mirrored. And so what I love about this, and for the clients who know the life map, it's almost like a life map for the business that then gets mirrored perfectly in Asana so that even when you're in Asana, you are constantly being reminded of what the most important project is. And so you're bringing a lot of that radical clarity and transparency into Asana. And I think that's exactly why people avoid Asana. I can only speak for myself.
Yeah.
The thing that I hated about Asana is that it felt overwhelming, it felt stressful to look at, and I felt like I lost clarity whenever I got into Asana. And now the reason I'm jumping in all the time, every day, is I'm getting clearer every single time I interact with Asana.
Yeah. So like just hold these two thoughts in your mind. Like imagine a project that says personal projects. And this is an actual example of a project that you had created in your personal Asana space that was like personal projects. And we both looked at this and we were like, this just has to go. This is, first of all, whenever you look at it, you have to reorganize it. And it just becomes this dumping ground for things that may or may not be important. So contrast that with a project that might say, move to United States successfully by October 31st. This is so much more clear. You could even put Demir move to United States successfully by October 31st. And then you're like, okay, any task inside here needs to get me to that goal. And then if I'm looking down that list, the highest priority things should be the things that I either highly leverage towards that goal or very urgent right now that I do that are essential to me hitting that goal. So if you have your project stacked up in this way, it's going to be so clarifying for your team. And promote that, ever elusive transparency that organizations always seem to be seeking out, which employees are like, well, how do I tell what's a priority? How do I tell what's important to the company? It should be laid out in your Asana projects.
Real quick, I want to jump in here and mention that for those of you who are new to the community, download our most popular method for planning your week free at lifehackmethod.com/worksheet. It's a simple front and back worksheet that walks you through our winning the week method planning process in 30 minutes or less. This is a method that is now used by thousands of professionals worldwide, and you're going to be stunned by how much relief that you can feel from overwhelm just in the first week of using this. So get this free worksheet at lifehackmethod.com/worksheet. Don't miss out. What I love about this is we've brought on a whole new series of key team leads. So probably for the first time in our business, we have people who are genuinely, fully, 100% responsible for certain things that we're not touching or looking at. And I know when I'm doing weekly, bi-weekly, monthly reviews with them, when I jump into Asana and I see what they're seeing, I can see the clarity mirrored in Asana. All they have to do is be in Asana to see what we expect of them, what their key KPIs are, what initiatives they're in charge of, what the dates are. It's almost like a dotted line to success. It's so clear.
And of course, like zooming down from there, as we're having any kind of status meeting or just any kind of meeting in general, it's, hey, I'm looking at your priorities right now. Like, do these match up to what my expectations are? Like, I just had a meeting the other day with my team members, and, one of my team members was saying like, yes, because everything this week feels like a priority. I'm like, no problem. Like, it's my job to help you figure out what is your real priority. And it was as simple as just looking at a couple items in Asana to be like, nope, that can wait. Nope, that can wait. Prioritize that first, this second, this third. Bada boom, bada bing. It was like so simple.
I have an even better story. I was on a review today and I didn't say anything. I just said, hey, from your perspective, what do you think is the most important thing this week, next week, and this month? And that person, Amy, just nailed it. It was exactly right. And that's what you want as a manager. Not to say that, hey, somebody might not get lost and it's our job to correct them.
Sure.
But what we really want, and what you're getting now with your new Asana course and the way that we're using it, is that radical clarity where you don't even have to say anything. They're already on top of it, or they're reminding you of what the priority is. I want to mention one more thing about this. You also, in this new Asana refresh, add some sections about how does Asana fit into the Lifehack method. Mm-hmm. And you go a little bit further than you've gone before to sort of say, what is the Lifehack method? What is the massive action triangle? How can you work it so that even people who buy the Asana course, who may not be members of Tribe, who may not have taken our boot camp or interacted with us in a different way, even they can get an elementary understanding of the Lifehack method. And again, I feel like you did it so good that part of me understood it at a deeper level than even I knew, and I helped create this method.
Right. Well, awesome. I mean, and I think another big thing that I tried to improve about the course was rolling it down to like, what actions are we taking on a day-to-day basis in Asana, and what can we do to make that even more frictionless, right? Because what I was noticing is that there's some aspects of that day-to-day execution where it's like, it's fine for me to say like, hey, calendarize your week like this. But if there's even a little bit of friction, it increases the likelihood that us or one of our clients is not going to do it.
Or you get lost. Yeah.
Right. And that's not what I want. Like, I want people out there getting results. And so what I did was I rehauled that section as well in terms of how we calendarize our week now. And we're able to get a really great third-party software that's now integrating between Asana and our calendars successfully without trouble, which has been the issue in the past, and create that two-way sync so that calendarizing and then replanning our week becomes super, super simple and easy.
You know what's such a game changer about this is in the film industry, they have this thing called focus pulling. And focus pulling is, there's a depth of field. And if you're sitting 3 feet away from me, the camera sort of needs to be pulled to the right focus so that everything behind you is a little bit blurry. If anything showed up in front of you, it would be blurry, but your face is in perfect focus.
Okay.
The way that the iPhone and a lot of these digital cameras pull focus is they sometimes, without noticing, they quickly go too far, too close, just right. That's called like automatic focus pulling. Too far, too close, just right. It's sort of this triangulation method where it's like, okay, too far, too close, just right. And I feel like what I've realized about Asana is that so much of getting clarity in your day is sort of go up and sort of say, what do I need to be doing this week? What should I be doing this hour? And then you sort of land in this perfect place where you're like, okay, here's what I need to do today. It's sort of like, let's go up, let's go down, just right. And what I love about the way that we've organized Asana right now is it makes it so frictionless and fast to do that, where you can very quickly, if you get lost, I mean, let me give you an example of how this feels in the day. Is like you come back after sitting in a meeting and you've forgotten, maybe you were clear earlier in the day, but now you've forgotten like what you're supposed to be doing, to be able to just really quickly zoom up to the month or zoom up to the quarter and just be like, wait a minute, what are the big priorities? Oh yeah. And then zoom right back down and get right back into focus. So that focus pulling analogy makes me realize why this friction issue you talked about is so important. When you make it frictionless to sort of zoom to any different level of your priorities and initiatives, zoom out to the month, zoom out to 3 months, zoom out to the year, zoom all the way back into today. When you can do that like that, then you've got that ability to pull focus rapidly in any moment, and it makes it fun to use Asana. Now, you were talking about this project buddy.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I did not realize how important this was going to be. And you and I have been talking about two-way sync and wondering, when is Asana going to have a two-way calendar sync?
Yeah.
Two-way calendar sync means that if I create a task in Asana for next Wednesday at 12 noon, that I can create it in Asana and it will show up in my calendar. And if I'm over in my calendar and I move it to Thursday at noon, it gets reflected back into Asana. So it's syncing both ways.
Right.
And Asana's been really lagging at integrating this. And you found a system that can actually, at least for Google Calendar users,
Right.
can actually get that two-way sync going. I did not realize how helpful this was going to be. I mean, it really feels like a missing piece that has finally really clicked into place, because now I can create all those deadlines in Asana. And then if I happen to be working out of my calendar and modifying and moving things around, I don't have to go back and realize that my Asana is now completely out of sync with what I did in my calendar. You've just got that two-way sync. And it's one of those things that I thought would be helpful, but it's so much more helpful.
And I know it's like we now need to download another software, but the great thing about Project Buddy is you don't actually have to be inside Project Buddy.
Yeah.
Once you set up this sync, you're still just working out of Asana and Calendar. So that's what's really great, because some of the other ones that I tried, first of all, didn't work as promised, but also you had to use then this other platform to manage your tasks, which of course was not as user-friendly as Asana and blah, blah, blah. So this is a solution I'm really happy with. We're also trying to get a solution in place for our Outlook users. Haven't found a really good one as of the filming of this, but hopefully very, very soon we will. And yeah, I'm just really, really excited, because again, like anything that we can do to remove people's friction points in their days and in their weeks, like that's the areas that our systems can improve.
So what does this all add up to? A change in mindset and philosophy, which, by the way, we've even integrated into your new Asana training. I actually did a little section that's like the sort of from Demir's perspective section of the Asana course, which is, I think, going to help the Asana avoidant. So we've got the philosophy or approach. You've also got better than ever, just a clear, frictionless way to understand Asana and like, how does it fit into my day? How does it fit together with my week and the other tools that I'm using? You just crushed it with a much clearer, much like easier to understand sort of like advanced common sense way of approaching it, and new tools that didn't exist before that are now integrating to Asana that just are huge bang for the buck, huge ROI in terms of making it simpler. And it all adds up into Mr. Asana Resistant is Mr. in Asana every single day. So for those of you who haven't checked out the Asana course, check it out. It's going to be live already. We'll probably drop a link in the description.
Yeah.
Now, for those of you who've already bought it, it's an evergreen course. So if
you
you've already
bought the upgrade, if you
go check it out.
Go check it out right now.
Good reason to go back and pop it open. Even if you've taken my boot camp, we're going to be loading this up into the boot camp. So if you have access to the boot camp, which all of the boot campers have lifetime access, evergreen access, then go back and check it out, because this is going to be a massive game changer. And even if you think you know Asana, I did too, this is going to be worth checking out.